do a little tutorial on vector versus pixel. So I'm just going to create a blank screen for now. I'm just making it black so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to just pick a plain brush. I might try, where's that reflection thing? There it is. I don't use it much. Just give this a go now for speed of drawing a little sword. I might have to start all this again. I didn't want this to be 20%. I'll just draw over it. So just holding shift, click in here, that's the point. I could get the keylogger on. Just holding shift means that it just obviously sticks to straight lines. Cool, now we've got this blade. Got that nasty channel down the middle, sometimes called the blood gut or something. It's a bit nasty, isn't it? Hey, swords were nasty. So this is just to demonstrate an icon. You might design an icon in Photoshop using pixels in this sort of painty way. Just using the square bracket there to knock things back. I mean, I could have filled them, couldn't I, with the paint bucket, but it's sometimes more fun to sorry if you can hear my kid in the background there. That is how it is around here. Now, I'm not going to put in heaps of time into developing a lovely sword icon. I'm actually going to flip everything back, so just Control I to invert the colors. It's a handy shortcut. I want the handle to be green. For some reason I've got the idea I want a green handle on my sword. And I'm going to turn off the symmetry thing so I can paint in a bit of a glint. Okay, so I don't actually use much smoothing. I know I probably should, but I find it slows the strokes down so much that it becomes really annoying. So when you ramp the smoothing up, obviously it can allow you to get a smoother line, but it slows right down. Can you see how laggy it is? I can't deal with that. Okay, so imagine that's our little sword icon. I'm just going to, just because it's a tutorial, I'm going to flatten these. Don't do that. Maybe. I'm just going to group them for now, just to not be a terrible example. Okay. There's our icon. It's not perfect by any means, but it's something. We probably want lots of, there's going to be lots of little imperfections all over it, and maybe we want a gem in here and things like that, Okay, so yeah, none of this is best practice. I've done a lot of sloppy technique here, but hey, this is to demonstrate something. So I'm just going to flatten that sword. Now that sword's fairly big, and that's fine until I want to use it in close-up. And I'm going to start getting pixelation, which will be really emphasized if I, for example, put a layer style on it, like a outer glow or something, or a stroke. I might start to see, well, you can see there's holes in it there, but you'll start to see lumpy bits emerging if I was going to put a stroke on it, because the outside is not perfect. So the pixelation obviously will get worse and worse the more you zoom in. Because I've designed it at a fairly large size, it's not too bad. And the way I'm transforming this here is destructive, so if I was to make it really small and then make it really big, it's gonna dump a load of data there. So let's just make it really small. Hit return. Now I want to make that big again. It's just a mess of pixels, it's not really usable. Okay, so the alternatives are, we could draw it in Photoshop using the pen tool. I'm just going to trace over this for speed. Now, that's okay, but I'd end up having to come back and round the corners. Manually. A little bit time consuming doing all that. So I would suggest using Illustrator. So with the pen tool here, if I click, that's fine, but if I click and hold, how am I doing that? Yeah, if I just click and hold, I can drag the handles out. Holding Alt, I get that little angle tool come up, and I can drag the handles wherever I want. But for now, I want that fairly flat on the curve. So it is totally different from how you draw with the brush. I get that, and it is kind of a pain, and you think, oh, it's horrible, but it's really useful, like super useful. So I'm going to cheat a bit here. I'm just going to make it a bright color so I can see it. And then Control T, transform, flip horizontal. Bring those close together. With them both selected, Control E, And with the pen tool selected, go up to the merge shape components. Now they are one shape. You see there's some messy vector points here. You want to keep it clean wherever you can, but that's my fault for... Okay. So what's the advantages? Well, so many advantages. Right now it doesn't look anything like this. You'd have to create more shapes inside, you know, which would be time consuming, admittedly, to get all these different colors going on inside. Again, I'm just going to draw it and flip it. For this one, obviously, if you've got an icon that's not if it's not symmetrical, that technique is just not gonna fly. Okay, select them both, merge them. So that's Control E to make them one shape, and then go up to with the pen tool selected, you should have this merge shape components. I'm just going to delete the unnecessary points. So holding Alt and clicking on it when that's selected just gets rid of those handles, or you can click on it and hold and produce the handles again. Okay, so that would take some time to reproduce that. I'll just take it a little bit closer, so I don't want to leave you stranded there. With this, you can obviously make the stroke thicker, which is what we want here. It doesn't preview until you hit return, which is annoying. I can change where it's aligned, the outside. That's kind of closer. It doesn't need to be 25 pixels. And I'm going to round the corners. So these are all your options for the stroke up here. They're pretty powerful, quite useful. This could have a similar width of stroke on it, potentially. I could give that another, what was it, 15? Make the corners round on themselves. That sort of thing. And make this less of an ugly red. Just using the shape tool now to and bring that to the top. Okay, so that line's too thick for the internal details. Bring that right back down. This is going to need some serious tweaking if you're going to do this for reals. It was really just to show like how hard it is in Photoshop to draw with shapes. It's not really necessarily what it's designed for. Photoshop is great for pixel stuff and manipulating photos, hence the name, but when it comes to vectors, it's behind Illustrator. You wanna go to Illustrator for that sort of fun. So why is that not working? So with the shape selected, I can get the fill color up here when I've got the pen selected, or in appearance properties, the color's already there. Or I can double click the layer in the layers panel. I'll get the colors up. So with things like gradients, that's trickier with a vector because they're quite good at solid shapes, but not so good at soft shapes. So how would I do that? Might make it really small and then apply like an outer glow, which is a layer style. Which won't necessarily scale as nicely. It might scale the effect when I scale the thing, which gets confusing, but alright. Almost there now. Again, select both those layers, Control E, pen tool, go up to this little block here, merge them, clean up any bits. Now I don't just want to delete these shapes, these points, because that would leave, you can actually see it there as I drag it, that would leave the shape not closed. That can cause some issues later. So I'm going to make sure that is closed. You can reconnect them, which is handy. Up here, there's some dodgy shapes there. So something you might want to do is say, right, I want this same style as this outer shape on this inner shape, so I'm going to go to that here and go copy shape attributes, click on the inner shape, paste shape attributes. Yeah, it's not really what I wanted in this instance. Fill, and going to bring that stroke, it needs to be smaller. I'm going to align the stroke to the center of the line rather than the outside of the line. Make it a bit smaller. Okay. So the beauty of vector is that I can select those and with the white arrow and actually scale them and move them around. You know, I could suddenly go, ooh, this one goes over here, you know, and it's non-destructive in that way. Okay, it's a bit of a chunky sword, isn't it? The handle's a bit chunky. Yeah. So obviously to edit those green bits, I'd have to make sure that that's the layer I have selected here to edit them. I can't just edit them all as one shape, which I could do if it was in Illustrator. So there we've got pixel, we've got our pixel sword, we've got our vector sword in Photoshop. I'm just going to screen grab what we got here, the original pixel sword, and take it into Illustrator, which I probably should have opened beforehand. Boot that up. And I'm going to try and show how that might work in Illustrator. It might be easier in the long run. I could spend this time finishing this one up. I just pressed the wrong button that changed the mode, the image mode. No, that wasn't what it did. Somehow changed the color mode there. That was weird. Didn't like that. I did the wrong shortcut. It was like something like Control 5 or something. What did I do? Yeah. Different view modes. Instead of pressing Control T, I pressed Control 5 and it all went black and white. Thought it was maybe the proof setup, but yeah, doesn't seem to be. I thought originally it was the image mode, which would be another thing it could have been. It could be useful. It didn't seem to be a destructive thing. Okay, so yeah, obviously you can use all your layer styles and get some cool bevel and emboss effects on here, whatever you want to do. I don't know whether bevel and emboss is cool, really. It's quite nasty looking normally, but it can be useful for things like this. Oh, of course, the inner glows. So yeah, I guess we could have used that for down here, for the glint effect there. Oh no, inner shadow, let's try the light effect there with the inner shadow. Normal. Oh, I turn off global light because I want it to come from the other side. I get hung up on all these inner shadows and things like that. Gradient overlays and the like. I must enjoy it. Oh well. You get the idea. I mean, I could copy that layer style now if I wanted to, for some reason. Do that here. Okay. So this is Illustrator. Going to create new web. I've copied that sword to the clipboard previously. It's taking a little while for some reason. Come on, Illustrator, you can do it. There it is. That's a pixel image in here, and you can see up here at the top it says image trace, and there's a load of options there. I'm just gonna pick 16 colors. Actually, that's not what I need. Actually, I'm going to pick 6 colors. No, that's not enough. Go back to 16. So this is approximating the result. We can see it's losing some of the edges. It's doing some funky stuff there. Expand. So that is now, including the white, unfortunately. Delete that. That's now vector, all of them. But it's done some funky things, as in, you probably want to get rid of that. You probably clean this all up. It's kind of messy. But the advantage of that is you can copy that, bring that back to Photoshop, and paste that as a smart object. If I pasted it as a shape object, it would just be one color. Let's just do that to show you shape layer. You'd think that's a vector object, that's great, but no, it's coming as one layer, one color, but all conjoined like some ugly experiment. And a nasty brown. So this is a smart object. It's got some issues. You can see this white haloing. I'm not sure how to fix that. But the advantage of this would be that I could potentially scale it up the size of a bus, and there is this haloing though, so that's not cool. But it's not pixelation like the issues we were having with the original one, which admittedly wasn't as exaggerated as I was making it. Okay, so is our live trace from Illustrator. Adobe Illustrator, live trace it. Just ordering the layers a little bit. I'll bring that back to being normal size, so we can compare these. Obviously it's a closer copy to the original. Okay, I'm just going to screen grab that again. I've forgotten my screen grab key. Oh well. How does that happen? Alt, Shift and S. Oh. It just becomes this like finger memory, and then sometimes when you think about it, you just can't remember. Okay, so I'm just going to get a clean version of that, and now, just so I don't get muddled, I'm going to lock the layers of the previous things. In a new layer, this is Illustrator, I'm going to take the pen tool, draw this beast out again. So it's similar to the Photoshop thing that we were doing, but here I can just be lazy. Look, I'll show you this in a sec. I'm going to be lazy with these curves and just draw them all as points, just clickety click. This one's a slightly bigger one, I might do something like that. Okay, and again, similar thing to Photoshop in this instance. Control C, Control F pastes it in place. If you do Control V, it pastes it somewhere totally random. It's not cool. So right click on it, transform, reflect, OK. Again, can merge these together, but using this tool. It's another variation of a square icon. It's called the Pathfinder Tool. If you can't find it, you go to View, Window, Pathfinder. There it is. Hit that, merge them together. There you go, one shape. So it's spiky, you say. What are you going to do? So with the white arrow selected, you get all these funny little nodes come up. They're your rounding handles. Now, just going to select the handle here. I'm going to round them to the maximum they can. So the reason why I couldn't do it with all of them selected is they all become constrained by the sort of lowest common denominator. So I'm just going to shift and drag to select multiple points. That's a little too round there, but luckily I can just edit it where I want. And then this doesn't really need to be round. Oh, again, needs a bit of cleaning up here. Okay. New shape. Should, when you just start drawing, it should just default to a new shape. But if you draw too close to the line, it will add a point to the existing line. So I'm just going to draw intentionally inside that. I'm not going to get too hung up on the symmetry right now. It's just a tutorial. So here you've got your color options. Now I want a stroke, but I also want the outside to be, the inside to be that color, and the outside to be black, which for some reason there it came up as white, probably because I dragged it off. Okay, and then the thickness is in this stroke, which will be in window stroke, and again change the alignment of the line till it fits your what you want from your artwork. So due to extreme laziness, I'm going to copy, I'm just going to actually grab that, copy it, and using the pen tool, when I hover over the point, it turns into a minus. I can just delete the points I don't want. If I want to do more of a big deletion, I can use the white arrow, drag over the points and hit delete. Unfortunately, that opens that shape up again, which we were discussing earlier. So you can go to the eraser. I'm going to hold shift here and just drag it across. That's broken that into two things. Not quite perfect, so just come in and delete those points. Again, I'm going to drag that, and just using the white arrow, select the points I don't want, hit delete. So here's a nifty trick. Select those 2 points, Control J joins them with the 2 points that you want to join selected. Control J, Control Joy, Control Joy. I for the ink dropper. So obviously that could do with a nice line in between each one. I'm being pretty sloppy with this, so just, you know, you'd be a bit more careful, I'm sure. If it was your beautiful sword illustration. And again, due to just convenience, I'm just going to get a rounded rectangle here for that brown pommel. S for scale is the shortcut. Hold shift to scale uniformly. If you don't hold shift, you can scale it. If you hold shift it. Oh. You seem to have to hold shift and drag along a certain trajectory. Ooh. I thought it was going to crash then. That would have been pretty sad. So you see this point, when I hit S, I've got a point, that's the point it scales from, so I could click. It's not important, but it gets annoying when you're scaling weirdly like that, so make sure that's kind of in the center. Alt dragging for these lines. Okay, I'm pretty done with this. I probably shouldn't have made the original image. R for rotate, just hit R and then drag it around for your go to the stroke, give it a stroke. Oh, actually I don't need one there. So I can just click on the stroke, hit the red arrow. S for scale. Draggy, doesn't look identical. Obviously. So with this, for example, you could maybe put a gradient on that. And the gradients in Illustrator I still find quite tricky. I don't know why, but they're not as intuitive as maybe they could be. Okay, so there's that version. Copy that and paste that back here. We've got that as a smart object, and when I zoom in, it's clean lines, which, you know, I love. So there we go, we've got 4 non-identical swords, one drawn in Photoshop with for pixels, one drawn in Photoshop with vectors, one drawn in Illustrator as a live trace, well not drawn but just traced, and one drawn in Illustrator. Have fun.